Turning now to political news, State Senator Grant Hauschild is set to bring a moderate and rural voice down in St. Paul. The DFL lawmaker from Hermantown will serve as assistant majority leader when January session begins. He was elected by his counterparts in the DFL Senate caucus, so he now joins Senator Bonnie Westland of Plymouth, Minnesota, as one of two new assistant leaders. In addition to this new role, he will continue to serve on numerous committees like the Senate Tax Committee. Hauschild was elected to the Senate back in November of 2022, saying today he is humbled by his selection as a Senate leader.
Oftentimes what happens in legislatures is you have elected officials who are there for a very long time, and I can bring those fresh eyes and say, hey, I'm hearing this in my communities. I'm hearing this in northern Minnesota. Let's make sure we do this right.
As for bringing a rural voice to the state, he said that he'd like to push to make sure rural schools can get adequate funding and ensure everyone in rural areas can get an ambulance no matter their zip code.